In this video, my youngest daughter Megan and I will be building a birdhouse from a kit.
So this little birdhouse kit was a gift for Megan's oldest sister, but it got lost in a drawer.
Yeah, I just recently found it cleaning with my other sister.
And then Megan and I decided that we would make a little daddy-daughter project out of it. And I learned something.
I hate sandpaper, the noise of sandpaper, the feeling of sandpaper, everything about it. I hate it.
So we put the sandpaper aside and decided not to do any sanding. We spent a little bit of time not only figuring out just how the birdhouse went together, but also how we were going to do it, because we had decided that we were going to use some green spray paint and some outdoor stain and sealant that we had in the attic from some old projects. So we spent a little bit of time just in general looking at how the thing goes together and how the plans call for the assembly, and then how we would modify that. And then Megan also had to figure out something for us.
Yeah, I figured out how it hung because we both originally thought it would hang from the top, but it turns out it hangs from the back, kind of like a painting.
Yeah, so it hangs more like a painting hangs on a wall. So we finished up our plans for what we would paint green and what we would stain and how that was going to go together, and got that all straightened out in our minds. And then we moved on to the assembly operations.
Yep, and then I got out the drill bits, and the clamps that we needed.
So the first big step involved drilling out, I believe it was 14 holes. So all the holes are drilled at the size that you would want for the screws to thread in. But for the holes, some of the holes, you had to drill them out larger so that on the first piece that the screw could pass through and then thread into the next piece. And that way, when you tighten the screw down, it would actually pull the pieces together. So I was explaining that to Megan here and then showing her which drill bit we would need. So she got out the drill bit and then showed her how the chuck works and let her work on that.
Yep, it was my job to tighten the chuck, but couldn't really do it because I didn't have enough grip strength, so he had to tighten it.
Yeah, she gave it a good effort, but in the end, just didn't quite have the grip strength to get the chuck tightened. So I made sure it was all tight, and then I drilled the first hole for her just to kind of show her how it goes, and then showed her how, now the screws will fit through just barely through these holes that we're drilling out, and then let her drill out the rest of the holes. So there goes her first hole. Yay!
I was very happy with myself.
Yeah. So Megan drilled out the rest of the holes, and then we moved into the garage to do the green spray paint on the roof pieces. So I demonstrated to Megan how to use the spray paint, and then let Megan take over.
Yep, this is my first time ever spray painting, and it was cool. It was kind of hard to get it out because it was an old can of spray paint and there wasn't much left in it, but I figured it out.
Yeah, being an old can and not having a lot of paint left in it, you had to be real careful what angle you held the can at and had to shake it a lot. But we were able to get enough paint out of it to get the two roof pieces painted green. Then we headed back down to the basement and started putting away the drill stuff.
I had trouble getting the drill bit thing into the box, but I figured it out and put it away.
Yeah, so she got the drill bits put away and then got out the things that we needed to start the assembly. So we got out the attachments for putting in the screws, and then she exchanged the drill for the driver. And now we were ready to begin the assembly. So we were using some wood glue here on the edges and spread it out, and then let Megan use the driver to put in the screws.
Yeah, it was my first time using a driver, and you had to push more than I thought you would have to get the screw in.
Yeah, she just thought that with it being electric, you just put it against the screw and press the button and it works. And it just took her a while to get the hang of how hard you have to push on the back of the driver in order to make sure that the bit does not spin in the screw and you actually drive the screw in. But once you got the hang of that, it all went pretty smooth. We got the sides all together, and then we installed the bottom or the base. And once that was installed, the only piece left to glue in for the birdhouse was the little perch that goes on the front, right below the little entry hole. So once we got that done, we kind of reviewed where we were, talked about how we'd let the glue and everything dry overnight. The next time we got together, we'd start the staining.
Yep, it was my first time ever staining anything. I've seen him do it, but I've never done it myself. And it's kind of harder than I thought it would be.
And this was a hard thing to start with because this stuff was not easy to apply with this sort of combination stain and sealant and outdoor weather treatment stuff. And so it was a little difficult. And the first coat took a little while, but once we got that all on, we knew it was going to take at least a day to let it fully dry before we could do the second coat. Turns out it took 2 or 3 days. And by the time we were able to get back to it and it was fully dry, second coat went on much quicker. And once that was all done, we just put it all aside to let it dry for 2 or 3 more days to make sure everything was fully dried. Got all the staining stuff cleaned up. And when we got back together a few days later, it was time for the assembly. So the first part of the final assembly was putting the hinges onto the fixed roof piece. And once those hinges were installed, it was time for Megan to install that fixed roof piece onto the birdhouse. And
then I put the chimney on the flap part of the roof, and then we put the flap part onto the birdhouse.
Yep, so we attached that movable part of the roof onto the other side of the hinges, and then we ran into a little trouble. So the roof did not want to lay flat. So after looking at it for a minute, figured out that the mortises that were cut in the fixed part of the roof were too deep. So when you try to fully close the roof, it would bind against the two roof pieces would bind against each other, and it would not let the roof close completely. At this point, weren't sure what we were going to do about fixing it, so we moved on to attaching the hook, the hanging hook on the back. So then Megan screwed that in for us. And go ahead, Megan.
Yep. Here is a little bit of eye ASMR because I love this stuff when people like peel off the little like coat over it, the protector thing. So you're welcome.
So we installed our little label over the door. We thought it looked nice. The red and the yellow looked good with our color scheme. Provided a nice decoration. And we still had this problem with the roof. But we liked how it looked, and we're just struggling to figure out what we're going to do about the roof not closing. So I came up with an idea. I remembered that I had some really thin plastic sheeting, and it's really easy to cut. So I cut 2 pieces for each side, each hinge. I made 2 little shims, and that adjusted the hinge enough so that the roof would close properly. So with that done,
we hung it up on a tree in our backyard. I had a little bit of trouble putting the nail in because it was kind of high up and stuff, but we finally got it in, and then we hung up the birdhouse.
And it looks really nice. It's a great addition to our backyard. Now we're just waiting for some permanent residents. We've had a few lookers from the bird community and hope soon to have some permanent residents.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel and click the bell to be notified of new videos. Be sure to check out the description below where I'll have links to my website and social media. There will also be other information and links relevant to this video. Thanks again, and see you next time.